Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 475. Today we're going to talk about Treasure Hunter. This is a new game from Queen Game, designed by Richard Garfield, who designed King of Tokyo and Magic the Gathering. It is a drafting game. The theme of the game is that players are going out on treasure hunts in different various parts of the land. So you're drafting cards to kind of go with those different places that you can visit. And then you're also trying to draft guards, or in this particular case guard dogs, to protect your own home from the attacking goblins while everybody's away, to kind of prevent you from losing any possible treasure. And then there's some other different mechanics in there as well, some action cards that you can play. So players will draft up a bunch of cards, play over 6 rounds, and then whoever has collected and not lost the most treasure will win. So there's some interesting twists on the whole drafting thing, but let's jump into how it works, and then I will tell you what I think of it. Okay, so here's everything you get in Treasure Hunter. You can see there's a main board here, and these are the different areas that the players are going to be adventuring out into. You've got kind of a frost area, forest, jungle thing, and then kind of a lava area. And then here you're going to have these invading goblins. The goblins will be coming while the players are away, trying to steal the players' treasure. And you're going to be playing over 5 rounds. I think I said 6 in the intro. It's actually 5. And then this is going to track left, right, left, right, left. And that's going to be the direction that you're going to be drafting these cards. So there's a couple of things going on here. You're trying to go out here and get these different treasure here. So if you take a look there, you can see in the frost area, you're trying to acquire possibly this treasure here, which is worth 12. And I should say money is the kind of victory points in the game. You'll start off with some money and then get money through different actions, as well as this actually being the worth of money. But there also will be some things here that will be negative. You don't want to get these. And then there are also some other kind of special tiles, which I'll talk about. But you can see there's a max and there's a min. Okay, so how does this work? So you're going to deal each player 9 cards, and there's a variety of different cards, but some of the cards are going to kind of match the area. So this guy, you know, he'll go off and help you in the frost world. And then this brewer monk here, he's going to be important when we try to figure out who wins the different tiles in the jungle. And then we have, let's see, some red ones here. Like this fella here, he's going to help you in the lava land. You might get some animal companions that'll double like the total. So if you get more than one, you know, red guy here, so let's say you got these 2, that's 14, but you had this, that would double it to 28 and so on. So you're going to draft. Everybody's going to take a card and pass left or right depending on the current round that you're in, and then you're going to kind of play through the board in this order. So what's going to happen is, at this point, everybody's going to reveal all of the frost cards. Maybe they were revealed like so. So Billy, he plays these 2, he's got 12, and then Frankie's got 4, and then I've got 3. So in this case, Billy's got the most, but he didn't want the most because the max is actually going to be negative. So in this case, he's trying not to draft those cards. I got lucky in this case, first of all, because I cheated and I'm making a video, but this is the lowest one. So I'm actually going to get the minimum one, in this case is 12. So these are going to come out, that's going to kind of change up how you draft stuff. Now you can try to not get anything of that particular card, and it's definitely possible to do it. So let's say these were reversed, and you're like, okay, I'm going for it, I want to get the max now. But you can also play the odds and say, I'm just not going to try to draft any of the frost ones, and that way I'll just completely avoid it. Because if you have none, I mean, if you have them, you have to play it. That's the rule. But if you have none, then you can avoid it. And then you're going to work down for each of the different lands. So you're going to do the frost first, and then the jungle. And again, there's an animal companion for the jungle. He's going to multiply by 2. And then you're going to do the lava area. Now, some of these tiles are going to be not a fixed number of points, but they're going to be some bonus points. So anything with a gold background here is going to give you points based on what you played that round, for example. So in this one, for every green card that you played, you actually get $1. And in this case, for every card that you played in any of these 3 lands here like this, so a blue, green, or red, that was of a value 1, 2, or 3, you'll get $3 for each of those. So that can be kind of interesting. Some other examples are, for example, you get $1 for each red card that you played. Or you can actually play these coin cards, and this will multiply, give you 2 times the value, which I'll talk about in a minute. So there's going to be a variety of those. And then sometimes you have these gray ones, and these won't be scored until the end of the game. You can see these goblin tiles over here. So for every goblin tile you collect, you get actually $2. So there's going to be a whole mess of different values and things going on in here. Now there are also special action cards that don't have a fixed phase that they're played in. For example, this flaming sword will give you +4. Now starting with the start player, player, or the dealer as the rules say. We just have a rotating start player. It's not really mentioned in the rules, which is interesting, but you can start playing cards. The order actually doesn't matter that much. So somebody starts playing action cards, says, okay, I'm going to place the +4. So he plays that. Now everybody has the opportunity to go and play action cards around and around and around until everybody passes. Now this one, for example, had +8, but you actually put $3. You spend the $3 and put them on these goblin tiles, so $1 on each of those. I'll explain that more in a minute. Or you can play the Mystery Mule, and this allows you to draw a card blindly at the top of the deck, which may or may not help you now, but it might help you later, so usually play that early. This one can actually cancel and discard one of your own cards. So maybe you're trying to become the minimum or something like that. So there's a variety of action cards that can also be played as well. And then we're going to look at these goblin cards here. Now, one of the action cards that you can play actually is this Scare Goblin. And this allows you to sort of ignore the penalty, a possible penalty for the goblins. Now, what we're going to look at here are these values on the left. So you can see this has a value, sort of a strength of 1, with a value of 3 gold that they're trying to steal. This one has a strength of 3 with a value of 1 that they're trying to steal, and so on. Now, what players are going to be collecting during the course of drafting here are these guard dog cards here. And so if you have, let's say I've got these 2 guard dogs. This is a total strength of 4, so I'm safe. So 4 is more than 1, 4 is more than 3, and 4 is more than 1 again. If I'd only drafted this 1, I'm safe from this one, that's a strength of 1. I'm safe from this one, that's a strength of 1. Not safe from that one. So in that case, what you have to do is actually put money equal to this amount from your supply on that goblin. So this goblin has now stolen $1 from me. Or if I didn't have any goblins in this case, I'd have to put 3 on him, 1 on him, and 2 on him. Then you're going to look and see anybody that's able to fight back the various goblins, and whoever has the greatest total. So in this case, if I had all of these, that would be a total of 5. Then I get to collect all the goblins and also the money that was on them that the other players lost. And if there's a tie, then you look at this number to break the tie. So you're going to take these, you take any money off of there and you get them, and then you're going to flip these over, and these are worth $1 or 1 point at the end of the game as well. And then finally, the last type of card you can play are these coin cards, which I showed you bonus for. So you get these and you just reveal these and you get that many coins, but maybe you got a bonus here and that will give you 2 times the coins again, or you can even get, a 1 times and you just get that double amount. So you can actually get some points that way as well. So you're kind of drafting against these various sort of goals, and they're changing from round to round and so on. So that's a very interesting kind of thing, avoiding negative, trying to get positive, maximum, or maybe you're going this route because it's too crazy over here. You don't really want to adventure, so you're kind of staying home. Okay, so that is a Treasure Hunter. What I think of the game? Well, I really enjoyed this one. Now, I recently reviewed a game called Medieval Academy, which is similar. It's a drafting game, and you're trying to get points in a variety of ways. There is one thing probably I like in that game more than this game, but there's a lot more things I like in this game more than the other game. Now, the interesting thing about Medieval Academy to me, and I talked about in that review, was you have your draft, but then you have kind of a card playing stage phase where you play card, and the timing of the card play can be pretty important in that game. It's not super strategic or anything, but it is important. You've got to be paying attention. Now in this game, not as much. You do have a little bit of okay, when do I use my action cards? Do I use it in the frost stage, or maybe for the lava stage and so on? Not a lot, but basically you're playing all the cards that you get. So if you have all the frost cards, you've got to play them all, and you reveal how many points you have for that. But the thing that I like about this game, to me, is the actual drafting itself is a little bit more interesting than Medieval Academy. So enough of the comparison, let's talk about this game. The thing I like about this game is you're dealt 9 cards, so there's a lot of drafting. Now, a lot of times in these other games, you don't get a big handful of cards. I mean, Seven Wonders notwithstanding, but a lot of these other kind of drafting games, you just have a few cards, 5, 6 cards. This one you get 9. And so there's a lot of, transitioning of the cards, even with a lesser player count. Now, and it also makes you able to see cards possibly come back to you, even if you're playing with 5 players. So that's really cool, and I like that. So there's a heavy investment. It's not just like a little bit of drafting. Maybe I see that card again. Like, there's a lot of stuff going around. So there's a lot more kind of the deduction of like what people might be taking, what's not in there or out there. Like, maybe there's not a lot of Frost cards in this particular one, so I can try to grab it with my 10 or something. You know, you can try to push your luck a little bit that way. And then it's also very interesting to try to like not draft anything of a card that, like, there's a bunch of negatives out there. I'm like, I don't want any Frost cards. I don't want any jungle cards, because it's just it's a catastrophe out there. And so I like that. And I like, maybe it's very hard to not draft anything, especially if there's a lot of them floating out there, because it's just going to end up nobody's drafting them. And then all you're passing in those final hands are just all Frost cards. So that's a very interesting idea. And I haven't quite seen it in such a way where you're just kind of like, oh, you don't even want to touch it at all. You just hands off. You're kind of scared to touch the hand. So that's a cool mechanic as well. And it has, again, like any good draft game, you're trying to really weigh where you're putting your focus. You're trying to go out and do the adventure. You're trying to stay home and defend against the dogs, and maybe clean up a little bit, because you can get a fair amount of points that way as well. You know, how valuable are these bonus tiles? Because of course you have your straight fixed value. You know, this is worth 12, this is worth -6, but you also have the variable ones that are pretty interesting. So you have to kind of keep track of all of that. So, and it's actually kind of thematic too, which you know, not to get back to comparison, the other game really wasn't. This, I mean, it was to a degree. And, you know, there was a little bit of suspension of disbelief. I don't want to undersell it that much, but this one has that kind of nice, whimsical, sort of fun flavor to it, you know, where you're going out on the adventure, things aren't quite working out. You're like, I don't want these cards. I don't want the, you know, you want these other cards. So things are kind of going crazy that way. Then you've got to go back home, and then you kind of have a little bit of combat, so to speak, with the goblins, and then you have maybe some money left over. You kind of change hands that way. That's kind of like an afterthought, but you can also kind of bookend your day or your round with a nice, you know, combo. If you got one of those bonus tiles that gives you extra money for the money cards. And the production qualities and stuff are really nice on this too. So I think this is a highly recommended game for me. It's very light. It plays about 45 minutes, 45 minutes. And but it's also very interesting, and it keeps you guessing, but without any kind of like, you know, artificially mixing up the metagame. Like, to me, this just kind of works. It's just a solid kind of elegant system, you know, for the drafting that still changes from round to round, and you still have, you know, different valuations each round. Is like, okay, you know, the Frost cards are worth not what they were last round, you know, and the sort of the economy of them, you know, the demand, supply and demand kind of thing of them is like, oh, there's a bunch floating around, so that just kind of changes your perception. And because you're drafting so many cards again per round, 9 cards, then that makes it really cool. So I think this is a good one. If you like drafting, this would be a more strong recommendation for me than, you know, a lot of games that have come out recently. You know, this, I would play this with the same types of folks I would play like a Sushi Go with, but I think this is a much better game than Sushi Go. I mean, you can't put it in your pocket, obviously, but it has that nice kind of light feel to it, but there's a little bit more going on, but it's still just as easy to jump into. Okay, thanks.